So a few months ago, I did a leaks and rumors video on the iPhone 8, and that was part 1. In that video, I covered pretty much everything we knew in terms of the design, the specs, the camera, special features, release date, price, pretty much everything we knew at that time in terms of the 2017 iPhone, the iPhone 8. However, since my last video, since part 1, a lot more details in terms of the iPhone 8 have emerged. Actually, quite a lot more details. So, hey everyone, welcome to the ZONEofTECH. I'm Daniel, and welcome to my leaks and rumors series. And in this episode, I'll be covering all the new leaks and rumors in terms of the iPhone 8 that I haven't covered in my first part. So, yeah, enjoy. Okay, so number 1, that all new iPhone 8 redesign, that all new iPhone 8 glass design seems even more likely now. Okay, so more and more sources have confirmed that Apple is indeed working on a completely new design and completely new redesigned iPhone for 2017. And that major iPhone redesign in 2017 is going to happen for a number of reasons. The first one is that the iPhone hasn't received any major design changes since the iPhone 6 in 2014. I mean, the iPhone 6s did get a new color, which was rose gold. Other than that, it looked identical to the iPhone 6. The iPhone 7, however, we did get a couple of more changes, such as 2 new colors, jet black and matte black. The headphone jack also went away, and then we also got the dual lens camera system on the iPhone 7 Plus. But yeah, these were the only design changes since 2014, so a new design is definitely needed. Then reason number 2 behind this major iPhone 8 redesign is Jony Ive himself. So Jony Ive has said throughout the years that he always wanted to make a really futuristic looking iPhone. Basically an iPhone with a full glass unibody design with curved edges that would look as if it was made from a single sheet of glass. And unfortunately this wasn't possible until maybe and hopefully the iPhone 8. And finally, reason number 3 for this major iPhone redesign is that the iPhone is actually turning 10 years in 2017. So 10 years since Steve Jobs introduced the first generation iPhone, the original iPhone, back in 2007. So a major iPhone redesign is almost certain to happen next year in 2017. And again, more and more sources have pointed towards this happening. For example, Casher Technology, they're actually one of the iPhone's main part suppliers, and they actually make the aluminum casings for the iPhone. So they said that in 2017 a major iPhone redesign is indeed coming, and that the new iPhone is going to have a full glass body, so glass on both the front and the back. However, the edges are still going to have an aluminum rim. So they will still be producing the aluminum frame for the iPhone 8. So they told this to the investors, so they won't be losing that much money in the end. Then number 2, besides this new redesign, the iPhone 8 is also going to come with almost no bezels, and this will be achievable by the actual removal of the home button. So this is something that I've mentioned in my previous video, in my part 1 of the iPhone 8 leaks and rumors. But since then, Apple has actually patented, yes, they've actually patented a home button, a Force Touch home button. Back in October, they patented this, a Force Touch home button that's built right into the display. So this patent includes the fingerprint reader, the Touch ID, which is also built into the display assembly. So yeah, this basically confirms that the next generation iPhone is most likely going to have this new almost bezel-less design. Apple can finally remove those really thick bezels on the iPhone. And because of this, Apple will be able to either keep the exact same display size and reduce the form factor of the actual phones, or increase the display size and keep the exact same form factor as with the iPhone 7s. Now the home button itself is supposedly going to be a software-based home button. It will still have Force Touch and Touch ID, so when you press it, it will still give you feedback that you've pressed it, basically like we have on the iPhone 7. But a software home button basically means that there's going to be a dedicated section of the display that would have some software buttons. So similar to what we have on some Android smartphones like the Google Pixel. So we might be finally seeing some extra functionality out of the home button. So I'm really hoping to see a back button on the bottom on the iPhone, and maybe even a dedicated multitasking software button on the iPhone 8. What do you guys think about this? Would you want to see a dedicated multitasking and a back button on the iPhone 8 like we have with Android? And also, since the fingerprint reader would be included in the display panel, this means that it will be usable at all time. This would be really, really cool to see. Number 3, apparently next year with the iPhone 8, we won't be seeing 2 iPhone 8 models like we had with the iPhone 7. So we won't be seeing an iPhone 8 and an iPhone 8 Plus. Instead, we will be seeing 3 iPhone 8 models. So reports are pointing towards an iPhone 8 with a 4.7 inches display, so basically like the iPhone 7, then an iPhone 8 Plus with a 5.5 inches display, again like the iPhone 7 Plus, and then also another version of the iPhone 8, a more premium and more expensive version of the iPhone 8, and this one would actually come with that completely new design, so with curved edges and also with an OLED display. The other models are only set to have an LCD display like we had until now. However, all 3 iPhone 8 models will still come with a new design. So by the new design, I mean almost no bezels and no home button. But yeah, only the more expensive model would apparently have an OLED display and curved edges. And apparently the reason why only the more expensive, the more premium version of the iPhone 8 would come with an OLED display, not all of them, is that, well, Samsung, LG, and Sharp, they're all battling, so to say, to produce the next generation OLED displays for the iPhones. And no one can actually produce all those displays because, for example, Samsung, they're also producing their own AMOLED displays for the Galaxy S lineup. So yeah, Samsung makes the highest quality OLED panels, but then at the same time, they do need those panels for their Galaxy S lineup, so for the S8 in 2017. Speaking of the Samsung Galaxy S8, by the way, I also did a Leaks and Rumors episode on the S8 as well. The S8 is going to be a pretty major change as well, just like the iPhone 8. So in case you haven't seen that video and you want to check it out, the links in the description. Now, number 4, a couple of more details in terms of that more premium version of the iPhone 8. So besides the fact that it's going to be more expensive than the iPhone 8 Plus, some reports suggest that it's actually going to come with not an aluminum frame, but an actual stainless steel frame. So something like we have on the Apple Watch. I think that will look really, really awesome, much better than aluminum. It would simply give the iPhone a much more premium feel. And it's not just that, but having a stainless steel frame would also mean that it would be less prone to scratches than like we have on the iPhone 7 Plus. That's jet black, and that's basically aluminum, polished aluminum, and that thing scratches like crazy. And just with the name of this more premium version of the iPhone, it's most likely going to be called the iPhone 8 Pro, because calling it the iPhone 8 Edge, well, that would simply make it really similar to the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge when it comes to the name. Even though the Samsung Galaxy S8 is actually going to have a Plus model, S8 Plus, which would heavily resemble the naming scheme of the iPhone 8 Plus, but yeah. So apparently the display size is going to be 5.8 inches, so much larger than the iPhone 8 Plus. However, the usable area would only be about 5.2 to 5.1 inches because the display would actually be curved. This is basically what multiple reports are saying, even though it doesn't actually make a lot of sense. Since if you take the S7 Edge, it comes with a 5.5 inch display and it's curved, but by being curved, it doesn't make it 5.1 inches. It's still about 5.4 usable. And also in terms of functionality on the S7 Edge, you do have a couple of extra features, a couple of extra functionality on those Edge panels, and that might be coming with the iPhone 8 Pro as well. I don't actually see Apple just adding 2 edges that would have no use at all. But yeah, overall, in terms of the design, all models of the iPhone 8 are definitely going to be some really impressive designed phones. Next up, we have a couple of new details when it comes to the cameras on the iPhone 8. So the dual lens camera module that we've seen on the iPhone 7 Plus, that's obviously still going to be there, but we will only see it on the more premium versions of the iPhone 8. So we won't be seeing it on the 4.7 inch model, we'll still be seeing it on the iPhone 8 Plus and on the iPhone 8 Pro. So on the iPhone 7 Plus, we have this dual camera module. However, we only have OIS, or optical image stabilization, on the main lens, so on the wide angle lens. If you take shots with the telephoto lens or the zoom lens, if you have shaky hands, well, those images will be kind of blurry. And this also means that the telephoto lens, the secondary camera, is also much worse in low light than the main one. And it's apparently going to be fixed with the iPhone 8 Plus because we will have optical image stabilization on both camera modules. And this would not only translate in much less blurrier photos, but also much better photos, yeah, in low light. Next up, we have a couple of new details in terms of wireless charging for the iPhone 8. As you probably know, in my first video, I said that the iPhone 8 is going to come with wireless charging, and now it seems that Foxconn is actually testing some wireless charging modules for the iPhone 8. So if Foxconn manages to produce enough wireless modules for all iPhone 8 models, then we'll see it in all iPhone 8 models. Otherwise, it's most likely going to be limited to the more higher end versions of the iPhone 8. So most likely the iPhone 8 Pro and possibly even the iPhone 8 Plus. Now, a few more details. Apple's actually working with a company called Energus, and they're actually developing a system, a wireless charging system that allows you to charge a phone or a device from up to 5 meters. So you don't have to place this phone on any charging pad. If it's still in range of the charging unit, it will be able to charge the iPhone wirelessly up to 5 meters, and that's a huge range. I was actually talking about this in my iPhone 7 Leaks and Rumors series, a wireless charging system for the iPhone 7, but that unfortunately never ended happening. Seems that now with the iPhone 8, this is most likely going to happen. And yeah, in case you're wondering, the charging speed would be really, really slow. I'm not exactly sure how fast or how slow it would be, but in Japan, I told you guys a couple of months ago in my iPhone 7 Leaks and Rumors series that in Japan, they've actually developed this, and I think it took them like 20 minutes to charge a phone 1%. So yeah, that was really, really slow. Apparently this one is faster, maybe, I don't know, 10% in an hour, something like that. So yeah, it's definitely going to be slow, but at the same time, it's definitely going to be really, really useful. What do you guys think about this wireless charging system from Energus? Let me know in the comment section down below. Next up, speaking of new Apple patents, we also have another possible iPhone 8 feature that's going to be included in the iPhone 8. So we have a new Apple patent that basically shows a new ambilight sensor embedded into a phone's display. Now, in case you don't know, the Apple Watch already has this. So on the Apple Watch, you actually have an ambient sensor included, actually embedded underneath the display. Well, it's not actually included in the display, but it's underneath the display. But this patent highlights an ambient sensor embedded into the display unit itself. And yeah, this is most likely coming with the iPhone 8 as well. So many things pointing towards this new iPhone 8 redesign with some really, really thin bezels. Now, a few more details in terms of the performance on the iPhone 8. So in terms of the RAM, we are expecting to see 3 GB on the iPhone 8 Plus and also 3 GB on the iPhone 8. I'm not exactly sure about the iPhone 8 Pro, so we might be seeing 4 GB of RAM on the iPhone 8 Pro. And in terms of the processor, some interesting facts. TSMC, which is basically the manufacturer for the Apple A9 chip, well, the Apple A9 was produced by both Samsung and TSMC, and now the Apple A10 is only produced by TSMC, and the Apple A11 is also going to be produced only by TSMC. And TSMC's shares have gone through the roof, especially with the sales of the iPhone 7. And in terms of the Apple A11 chip, this is the chip that's going to be included in the iPhone 8. This is going to be based on a 10nm process, so on a much smaller process than the 14nm one that's included in the iPhone 7. So it's actually going to be 40% smaller, the chip itself, than on the iPhone 7, which means that there's going to be much more space inside the iPhone for possibly a larger battery. Besides this, a smaller 10nm process would also result in about 30 to 40% performance improvements and also about 40% less power consumption. So again, all this pointing to a much better battery life on the iPhone 8 than on the iPhone 7. Then a couple of more details in terms of the displays on the iPhone 8. So we do know that we will see an OLED display on the iPhone 8 Pro and then LCD displays on the iPhone 7, but what about the actual resolution of the display? So apparently we are going to finally see a Quad HD display on the iPhone 8. Now, the Quad HD display is most likely going to be just on the iPhone 8 Plus and the iPhone 8 Pro. So the iPhone 8, the regular model, the 4.7-inch model, is most likely going to be bumped to 1080p, which is still a decent improvement from 768p. And it's quite weird, but we haven't actually seen any PPI improvements since the iPhone 4. So every single iPhone except for the Plus models, which have 401 PPI, every single regular iPhone model has had 326 PPI ever since the iPhone 4 back in 2010. So yeah, the PPI on the iPhone definitely needs an improvement, especially if you plan on using this with a VR headset. Now, speaking of VR, this is another thing that I want to mention. So unfortunately, there is not going to be any VR headset for the iPhone 8. And by any VR headset for the iPhone 8, I mean any VR headset made by Apple, especially for the iPhone 8. But apparently Apple is indeed working on a VR/AR augmented reality headset for the future. So Apple's actually purchased a couple of VR and AR companies back in 2015, 14, and this year in 16. So a couple of them would be Facelift, PrimeSense, Metaio, and much, much more. So they're definitely working on something really interesting. Reports suggest that Apple is actually working on some glasses, so something similar to Google Glass. And since they are glasses, they will be focused on AR, so augmented reality rather than VR. Hopefully we will be seeing this by the end of 2017, even though I don't think so. 2018 is most likely going to be when we'll see these new Apple glasses. That's if we're ever going to see them. And finally, the last thing that I want to mention is another new patent from Apple. So this patent, this was actually posted today, a few hours ago. This is a foldable iPhone design patent. So this uses a flexible OLED display. And yeah, as you can see, the design is completely bezel-less. And yeah, you can make the phone much smaller by folding it so you can transport it much easier. But yeah, I don't expect to see this in the iPhone 8. This is just a really cool patent that hopefully we might be seeing this one day. Apple does like to patent a lot of things, but in the end, not all of them make it through production. Hopefully this one does, because this is definitely going to be a really awesome, cool, unique, and useful gadget. But yeah, there you go. These were all the new leaks and rumors in terms of the iPhone 8. I really wanted to make this video and cover everything that I haven't covered in my previous part 1 video, which in case, again, you haven't seen, definitely check it out. The link for that is in the description. In case you want to see more leaks and rumors episodes like this one on the iPhone 8 and more devices like the Samsung Galaxy S8, then definitely feel free to subscribe to my channel if you're new to the channel and if you haven't already subscribed. And also feel free to follow me on Twitter at ZONEofTECH for more tech updates there. You can ask me any questions there you want, and that's pretty much the place where I reply pretty much instantly. Also, if you have enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a huge like to let me know. It took quite a while to make, so every single feedback is really appreciated. Also, let me know in the comments what are your top 3 features, your top 3 things that you want to see in the next generation iPhone, the iPhone 8. And also, if you were epic enough to make it to the end of this video, let me know in the comments by saying I was epic enough to make it to the end of this video. Finally, don't forget to enable notifications on my channel on both desktop and mobile. On mobile by simply clicking on the bell icon next to my channel, so that you're notified whenever I upload a brand new epic video. But yeah, this was pretty much it for this video. Again, huge shoutouts to every single one of you that made it to this point, to the end of this video. And other than that, thank you all for watching again this video. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you guys in my next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.